So we have an outrageous story on the results of the absurd tax cuts for the rich that the Republican Party forced onto the American people late 2017. It's a article from CNN. The title is Corporate America Gives Out a Record $1 trillion in stock buybacks. So, for those of you who don't know what stock buybacks are, it's basically a scam that corporations or that the executives of these multi-billion-dollar corporations raise the prices of their stocks for the company and at the same time boosting their profits. So what they do is, when they get these huge tax cuts from the government, like what happened in 2017 when the Republicans passed that tax cut for the rich and for corporations, they take that money and then they use it to buy stocks in their own company. So they buy billions of dollars worth of stock. It inflates the price of their stock for the company. It makes it look like the business is doing better than it actually is. And at the same time, these executives' bonuses are tied to the stock prices. So if the stock prices go up, their bonuses for the year go. These stock buybacks is just a trick to make the company look like it's doing better than it is and to give executives more money in their pockets. So, like I mentioned, it's a scam, and corporate America celebrated the first full year under the new tax law by rolling out a record-setting $1 trillion in stock buybacks. U.S. companies led by Lowe's and AbbVie rewarded shareholders by unveiling $34.4 billion in stock buybacks last week, according to TrimTab's investment research. That lifted repurchase announcements out above $1 trillion for the first time ever, TrimTab said, exceeding the prior record of $781 billion set in 2015. And the trend continued on Monday. Johnson & Johnson, mired in controversy over its iconic baby powder product, announced a $5 billion stock buyback. Boeing also ramped up its buyback program. The buyback boom has been fueled by strong economic growth and the corporate tax overhaul that was signed into law over a year ago. Quote, "It's no coincidence," said David Sanchi, TrimTab's director of liquidity research. Quote, "A lot of buybacks are because of the tax law. Companies have more cash to pump up the stock price." End quote. Not only did the tax law reduce corporate tax rate, but it gave a big brick to companies returning foreign profit. Companies have used sizable chunks of that windfall to reward shareholders. Buyback announcements have spiked 64% so far this year, TrimTab said. Wall Street loves buybacks because they artificially inflate earnings and backstop prices by providing a price incentive. But critics complain that companies often launch buybacks when prices are elevated, not necessarily when they spot a bargain. That appeared to play out this year, which started with stocks racing at all-time highs. U.S. companies announced $113 billion of stock buybacks per month during the first half of the year, but the price of buybacks decelerated to $54 billion a month during the last 6 months of the year, even as stock prices plunged. Under former CEO Jeff Immelt, GE shelled out $24 billion on share repurchases in 2016 and 2017 at what turned out to be extremely high prices. Now GE is grappling with a cash crunch that wiped out 59% of its value this year. Sears has spent $6 billion buying back its own shares since 2005. The company's stock prices have plummeted 99% since peaking in 2007. Sears filed for bankruptcy in October. Buybacks have been a hallmark of the bull market since 2009. Since March 2009, corporate America has repurchased more than $4.3 trillion of its own stock since 2009, according to Yardney Research. The market appears to have become more reliant on repurchases, with stocks stumbling when buybacks get turned off. To avoid tripping insider trading rules, companies typically avoid repurchasing shares during the 2 weeks prior to reporting earnings. So-called blackout periods have coincided with multiple market tailspins, including the one that began in early October. Opponents of the buybacks argue that companies would serve the economy better by sharing more profits with employees and investing in the future. When a corporation uses profits for stock buybacks, it's deciding that returning capital to shareholders is better for business than investing in their products or workers. No surprise we have work life that is unstable and low paying. Okay, so there was a lot of interesting things in that article that I'm going to get into right now. But to start with, this is exactly what we said would happen when the Republicans passed their ridiculous tax cut for the rich in 2017. We saw the details of the tax bill. We saw the provisions. We saw what they were doing. The 84% of the benefits, so 84% of the tax cut benefits went to the top 1% of the country. So the whole time they were trying to pass it, they were saying the exact opposite. They were saying that no. We're not giving, this isn't a tax cut for the rich. What we're doing is investing in workers, and we're investing in the economy. Because if you give these corporations a tax cut, they have more money to hire workers, and they have more money to pay higher wages, and it's going to be a good thing for the economy. That was their rationale at the time. Everybody who was opposed to this tax bill knew it was bullshit, because this is exactly what has happened throughout history. You give tax cuts to these corporations. Republicans say it's going to be a boom to the economy with their dumbass dynamic scoring that is just like, as George H.W. Bush said, a Republican who criticized Republican economic policy, calling it, quote, voodoo economics, because they have this weird idea that if you cut taxes, somehow there's going to be more money being put into the government because the economy is going to grow and people are going to be spending more money into the economy and yada yada. They've said this forever, but every time they do the tax cuts for the rich and the deregulation, it ends with an economic crash. So anybody who cares enough to look into this issue, cares enough to learn the history on this, knows that it was bullshit from the jump. But yet again, the fucking liars, Donald Trump included, biggest fucking liar of them all, went out and said, oh no, this is to help the working class, the middle class, and the poor. But what we were saying was, if you give this tax cut to these corporations, all they're going to do is give themselves, these executives are going to give themselves bonuses. The shareholders are going to want them to do stock buybacks to boost the stock prices and give them all bigger profit. So that's all that was really going to happen, and it was not going to do anything for the economy. It actually would be more of a harm to the economy than good, and I'll get into that later. A quote from the article is it's no coincidence. A lot of the stock buybacks are because of the tax law. Companies have more cash to pump up their stock prices, which is exactly what I'm saying. If you give these companies tax cuts, it's not like McDonald's. The executives at McDonald's or at Walmart, they were like, God damn it, you know what? We need to hire 200,000 more people. But we just don't have the money. We don't have the cash to hire more people. If we had $1 billion if we had an extra $1 billion, then we'd be able to hire these 200,000 people, and we'd be able to pay them higher wages, and it'll be good for everybody. Only if we had that $1 billion. No, of course McDonald's and Walmart wasn't sitting around thinking that, because they have enough money, they have enough assets, so that if they need to hire people, they will hire people. They're not waiting on money to hire people. So the idea that they just needed a tax cut to invest in their workers and their employees is not true. Look at the companies that are getting the bonuses. So on top of me being just against it in principle, the stock buybacks and giving giant tax cuts to the rich, look at the type of fucking unscrupulous corporations that are buying back billions of dollars in stocks, giving their executives and their shareholders millions of dollars in bonuses. Johnson & Johnson just bought $5 billion in stocks this year in their in stock buybacks. Johnson & Johnson has multiple lawsuits against them for, at first it was the baby powder when was giving women ovarian cancer. There was a class action lawsuit about it. Hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly billions of dollars are being sued for. And there's damning evidence against Johnson & Johnson that they knew about this and they did nothing about it. Then come to find out later this year, The emails leaked from executives in Johnson & Johnson. They were going back and forth talking about how there's asbestos in the baby powder, and it's been in the baby powder for over 20 years, and they've known about it. Every time they test it, they find amounts of it in the baby powder, and in the emails you see them going back and forth about how they should deal with the situation and how they should cover it up. All the while selling their baby product to people, knowing full well it has asbestos, and asbestos causes cancer, and they were selling it to people making billions of dollars in profit, and never mentioned it to the government, never mentioned it to agencies that are supposed to regulate them and oversee them, never mentioning it to their customers, to the public. Knowingly selling people fucking asbestos. That's who Johnson & Johnson is. And then this year, because of the tax cut that the Republicans gave them, that which, by the way, they fucking paid for, because Johnson & Johnson and Apple and GE and all these other corporations, they donate to Republicans and they donate to Democrats and they donate to politicians. One of the main reasons they do that is for this exact reasons. They get tax cuts, giant tax cuts that benefit their companies. So to think that Johnson & Johnson, after all of their fucking scandals and cover-ups, you would think that, hey, maybe the executives should hold off on giving themselves $1 million worth of bonus, but of course they have no fucking shame and they'll do it anyway. And then Sears, $6 billion in stock buyback since 2005, and then Sears goes and turns around and declares bankruptcies and closes hundreds of its stores, laying off thousands of people with no severance and nothing like that. At the same time, buying back their own stocks, giving their executives hundreds of millions of dollars in stock in bonuses. Bankruptcy. There was a ruling in bankruptcy court a couple weeks ago. The Sears employees wanted severance pay. They wanted some sort of package to compensate them for the stores closing down. Sears in bankruptcy court says, nah, we don't have the money for that, bro. We're gonna have to let that shit slide. We don't have money to be giving people severance packages or anything like that. At the same time in bankruptcy court, I forget how much money it was. It might have been $25 million. The bankruptcy court allowed the executives of Sears to give themselves in bonuses for the year. Are you fucking kidding me? Like I mentioned before, I'm against these tax cuts for the rich in principle because it doesn't help the economy, and I believe that we should focus more on helping working class and middle class and the poor. But on top of that, giving it to these shitty corporations run by these shitty executives doing all types of shady and shitty things, why the fuck do they need millions of dollars in bonuses on top of the salary that they're already making? It's fucking absurd and it's outrageous. So you have to understand that these executives are only doing these stock buybacks to boost their own profits, because long term this doesn't even help the company. It does more harm than good to the companies that they're in charge of. And this has become a very noticeable bug of the corporatocracy in America. A lot of the time, these executives, they get these executive positions just to extract as much money out of the company as possible and not really giving a fuck about the long-term viability of these companies. So the company could go bankrupt and close all the stores or whatever, but their whole job, their incentive as the executives of these companies while they're there is to make as much money as possible, raid the company, and then we're going to just, as soon as they go bankrupt, we'll go on to the next company and continue the cycle. The article mentions the cycle this creates where these billions in dollars in stock buybacks, it makes it look like the company's doing great, but when they have to stop doing the buybacks right before they release their quarterly reports, or else it would be considered insider trading at that point. So they have to stop doing the buybacks before they release the quarterly reports. And when they do that, the stock prices for the company tanks. And that's because nobody's actually buying the stocks for the company. The company isn't actually doing better. It's just the executives are doing the buybacks to boost prices and boost their bonuses. So that's what's really actually happening. The article has a good example of how these buybacks are actually doing more harm to these companies than good. Quote, GE shelled out $24 billion in share repurchases in 2016 and 2017 at what turned out to be extremely high prices. Now GE is grappling with a cash crunch that wiped out 59% of its value this year. So, first of all, just the framing of that little short 2 lines in the article is just amazing. Just the framing alone is amazing. They point out that in 2016, 2017, GE spent a ridiculous $24 billion on stock buybacks. So just to boost the profits of the shareholders and the executives, $24 billion they spent in those 2 years. Then they bring up the fact that the company is now dealing with a, quote, cash crunch that wiped out 60% of the company's value, this as if the two are just completely unrelated. The executives they're running out the back door with all the money. Then if the company goes bankrupt, they'll either get bailout from the taxpayers or they'll shut down their factories and their stores, and hundreds of thousands of workers will lose their jobs. And that's one of the many downsides of these stock buybacks. They are just a scam to give these people more money. These are just a couple of the reasons why stock buybacks used to be illegal up until 1982. It was considered fraud and market manipulation to buy your own stocks. But of course, after some important SCOTUS or Supreme Court rulings on the issue of money in politics that sided with the corporations and the millionaires and said money in politics equals free speech, private money flooded politics so the corporations and the millionaires, and then they started buying politicians. One of the first things they got in return for their legalized bribery was the legalization of stock buybacks, which from the 80s, if you want to calculate from the 80s till today, have given trillions of dollars in bonuses to these executives and to these shareholders of these corporations. So what that was an investment. In the 80s, that's when private money in politics really took off, and they gave the money to the politicians, and in return, they got trillions of dollars in bonuses. So let's be clear of what this is. Be very clear about what this is. It was a heist. It was a scam. It was a business transaction. It was corruption in broad daylight. And the quid pro quo was, I give you this money for your campaign, I'll give you this money in lobbying, and in return our companies will get trillions of dollars in bonuses, our executives will get trillions of dollars in bonuses, which is so fucking gross. So my point here is to say that progressives were exactly right about what this tax bill really was from the beginning. We said that this was just a scam to enrich executives and to enrich millionaires. We said that giving trillions of dollars to the corporations wasn't going to help the working class. It was going to screw over the working class, because at the end of the day, they raise taxes on anybody making less than $75,000 a year or less in order to pay for these tax cuts. So it's just immoral on any level you want to look at it. One more thing that's worth noting. This is exactly what Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren mean when they say that the economic system is rigged in favor of the rich and against the working class. That's not just campaign rhetoric or a throwaway line that doesn't mean anything. It's the stone cold truth supported by the facts about the way our economic policies are set up. They won't say it on mainstream media, but I'll say it right here on this show. The fucking economic system is rigged. That's why we need a political revolution. That's why we need money out of politics. Because this shit is not helping anybody.